Hey everybody, welcome back to The Process with David Barron, only on the Sig Slayers Station and only on YouTube. Thank you for joining me again. Today's topic is a very valuable one to almost all creators or all new creators that I know. And more established pros are asking me questions because I am definitely involved in crowdfunding. But I want to turn to someone who knows crowdfunding very well, very established, and the person that I go to when I'm looking for crowdfunding, our guest, Rylend Grant. And then, of course, we're always joined by Mike, Sig Slayer himself. Mike, guys? How you doing?
Doing great, man. I'm ready for another education on this episode of The Process.
Well, there's no one better to educate us on crowdfunding than my friend Rylend Grant. Rylend, how are you?
I'm doing great. Hall of Fame comic book personality asks me on to, talk about something and calls me an expert. I could be a whole lot worse, I think. So
yeah, it always feels good that way. When someone, not only, values, who you are, but what your actual opinion is of a subject. And I do value. So a little background with Ryland. I'm not sure what show we met at.
Long Beach Comic Con.
Yeah, Long Beach Comic Con years ago. We stayed in touch. And Ryland has his own podcast, his own channel called The Writer's Block with David Avalone. And you have your own creator-owned series. You have crowdfunded them successfully year after year after year. And when I was looking to crowdfund my children's book, Cobblestone Chronicles, you were the person that helped guide me through that. And I want to help others like you helped me. And our big topic right now is, how to build a following, when crowdfunding or on Kickstarter. Obviously, we can give other, tips, in that same genre. But I want to start us off with a question. And as always, I have all my notes. But before we talk all those tactics, before we talk too much, I want you to I want you to answer one question. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be about misconceptions. I want you to ask or answer when I'm building a following on Kickstarter, and if I'm a pro coming to you, what's the first misconception that you usually have to correct because the person coming to you just does not understand? So building a Kickstarter follower, what's a misconception that we want to kind of right?
Yeah, I think you have to understand the machine and the value of the machine, right? If you're coming, because here's the thing, because I started out just like you guys, putting comics in comic book shops, and I did that for a very long time. And won a Ringo Award and was making a go of it. But there were so many limitations. The first thing is I could sell 30,000 units of a book and not make a dime, right? Yep. As if I'm putting out a creator-owned series, page rates are not always great. You can make some cash on Kickstarter, and people are interested in that and enticed by that, but they don't really understand how it works. And I think that, the thing that has happened since I started crowdfunding, since you started crowdfunding, is Kickstarter in particular, but crowdfunding in general, has become a bigger and bigger and bigger part of the business. COVID caused some issues. Bankruptcies caused some issues. There are, middle tier publishers are closing. Comic shops are closing up. And I honestly think that crowdfunding, Kickstarter in particular, is probably 60% of the business now. And I know that sounds like a lot, but I think that is true. I may actually be underestimating it at this point. And so a lot of people think that it's one big pool, but it's not. There are people that mostly buy their books in a comic shop, and there are people that mostly buy their books through crowdfunding sites like Kickstarter. There is crossover, but not nearly as much as you think. And so if Kickstarter, if crowdfunding is 60% of the pie, then you are doing yourself a disservice if you're not eating that part of the pie.
Right.
If you're not servicing that audience. And so you're doing yourself a disservice, you're doing your pocketbook a disservice, you are doing your wonderful comic book that you have created a disservice if you're ignoring that audience.
That's huge. I mean, what you're saying is one of the biggest misconceptions is that is if I could sum it up, is that Kickstarter is a market that people are misunderstanding as its own market. So if they're not participating, they're not selling it to every comic book fan out there. They're only selling it to a certain amount. So if you're just doing conventions to sell your book, you're missing 80% or 90% of the rest of the market. If you're just trying to do direct market, which in previous episodes we have proven, well, not proven, but discussed that's almost impossible nowadays to get your book into the direct market. That you are now limiting yourself, and so you're saying 60% or more of the comic book industry is now living on crowdfunding, and I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, it's such a massive part of the business, and here's the thing: is like the freedom of it is wonderful, right? I mean, it used to be for the longest time, and you know this better than anybody because you've been doing it longer than anybody. But there used to be like 5 publishers, right, that mattered, and they were all run by 50-year-old white guys. And you used to have to go to one of those 50-year-old white guys to get permission to do your book. And if you didn't get the permission, that one of those guys' permission to do your book, you didn't get to do it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And that was unfortunate. That was tragic for any number of reasons. Like, really, what it led to was like a homogenized product, right? You had product coming from kind of like a singular point of view. And what that meant is that like about 80% of the population walked into a comic book shop and didn't see themselves on the shelf, right? Well, crowdfunding has kind of blown that up in this wonderful way. And now, no matter what your background is, no matter what point of view you're coming from, if you make a good book, you will find an audience on a crowdfunding platform. And no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter who you love, no matter, it used to be that you didn't see yourself on a comic book shelf, but you can go onto a website like Kickstarter, and you will find, no matter who you are, you will find 5, 10, 20 books that speak to you, that you see yourself in. And it's wonderful. And it is this, we saw it happen in the music business, where it kind of broke down, where you had these kind of gatekeepers that were limiting what could be done. And now we are just seeing such a wonderful, like a diversity of product, but which is important, but it is a really challenging product where it was like you had to do it a certain way before. You don't have to do that anymore. And the more challenging it is, the more you push the limit in a respectful way, the better it's going to be.
So we're going with this whole topic of building your following, so people can see everything you just talked about of putting your creativity out there without any gatekeeping, without any permission. And one of the questions is what is Kickstarter in its entirety? Obviously, we know it's a crowdfunding site, but is it a sales platform? Is it a community now, or is it something else entirely? What do you think on that? Do you think it's what has it turned into to you?
Yeah, it is a couple of things, and here's one of the major misconceptions. When you ask me about the major misconception, this is probably the misconception, is that people think that it is people think it is like GoFundMe, like I have to get a surgery. I need $20,000. Come go donate to my GoFundMe. That is not what Kickstarter, at least in the comics world, is. Kickstarter has become the premier pre-order system in comics. The whole diamond ordering that we dealt with for decades was incredibly flawed, right? Like, try to explain to your aunt in Nebraska how to order your comic book, how to get a hold of your comic book. Oh, well, you have to go down to a comic shop and you have to pre-order it, and you got to tell them it's this, and here's the diamond code and all that stuff. Kickstarter makes it really easy. Here's the website, choose the options you want. It says right here, we're going to deliver it on this date. You send it. And so it is this wonderful pre-order platform. It is that. But really, it has become another very useful crowd, like social media site, right?
Okay.
It is a community of creators that all love and support each other and are trying to kind of like one-up each other in a really interesting way. It is this wonderful, it is kind of like a 24/7 comic book convention with like really interesting, engaged fans who are there to buy the product. That is the thing, is that when you're talking about like a GoFundMe page, right? You're asking your friends, you're asking your family to come and donate to a cause or whatever. The buyers are already on Kickstarter, right? We can talk about how and why you need your people to show up and when you need your people to show up. That's part of the whole game. But there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who walk into Kickstarter every day like they're walking into a comic shop and they're looking at the shelves. What is going to interest me today? What is going to jump out at me, grab my attention, make me love comics? And so that is one of the big misconceptions is you walk in and you got hundreds of people, thousands of people who desperately want to see great products and are willing to plunk for them and are willing to be part of an experience. And it is like when you put out books in comic shops, right, it can feel like you're shouting into the Grand Canyon for the most part. Of course, we've had social media, we've had Twitter, so you put out a book and maybe you hear back from a few people. But Kickstarter is this constant conversation between creator and consumer, right? And so you're logging in every day and they're logging in every day and they're asking questions and they're helping to build the book. And the book doesn't actually happen unless they participate, right? And so there's this wonderful give and take. And there's this wonderful, if you're not sure which cover you want to go with, go to the community and be like, hey guys, should we go with this variant cover or this variant?
We'll actually cover that. We'll actually cover that a little bit later because again, I want to stay on the whole idea and you had a lot of good info in there before we trail. Yeah. So again, I totally agree with you that one of the cool things about Kickstarter is that it is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week Comic-Con. That you can browse, new books, and especially when it's so comic book oriented. But you could actually, find vinyl toys, board games, dice. You can find so much there, and we are definitely talking to comic book creators. But at the same time, if you are a board game designer trying to do your board game or dice or anything that's fan pop culture related, a lot of this advice goes to you. So we talked about that. It's not just it's not just a crowdfunding site. It is now building into its community. And I do agree with you that, we get a lot of support from other Kickstarter creators and we get a lot of support from people from just the comic book community that's never ran a Kickstarter. One of the things that I think you said really well is that the mindset must be that you are not running a GoFundMe. That it is truly a shopping experience. And then another thing you said that, sometimes these books don't happen without you. And in other ways, like in my, crowdfunding, the book's going to happen no matter what. But this gives you the opportunity to maybe grab something exclusive or grab something special that you would not get from me at a convention or even from my website. And as you said, you can actually help make the book even stronger or better, longer, more creative with different covers. And so that's a really good understanding. So I would say with my follow-up question of what's the mindset shift that creators need when they're going to Kickstarter, I would say that the original mindset was, this is tough. This is, impossible to find people to, help buy something off my site, or one of the mindsets would be they're not going to pay what I'm asking. And so what do you think, like where it's like a lottery, type of thing? What do you think about the way people price their items? Like, in terms of thinking it as that people aren't going to pay for it, because again, this is all about building your following on Kickstarter. And so if you're going to build your following, and remember that kind of all the questions are going to relate to that. What's pricing look like to you when building a following?
So the good news is, right, we go on and we feel like we have to pull this stuff out of a hat, right? The beauty is that there are a lot of great people out there, the Charlie Stickneys of the world, the Pat Shans of the world. You can look at my campaigns if you want to, because I just copied them. There is an accepted price rate on Kickstarter, right? And for the most part, and this comes directly from Kickstarter honchos that I try to stay in contact with for best practices, but the average person who goes on and backs a comic book campaign wants to spend about $25, right? And they're comfortable doing that. They do it all the time. And so it then becomes about what can you give them for that $25? And so if you can give them a beautiful, 30-page comic book with a lot of fun stuff built around it, extras, and make it a premium boutique experience, right? You have a fan base who has and is used to walking into a comic book shop and spending $5, $6 on a floppy these days, right? So how do you move from the $5 or $6 flop? I'm going to plunk down $25 for this one issue. You really have to make it a premium experience. They need to be buying a Cadillac and not an economy car, right? And so it is a premium experience the whole way, and they are getting everything is very limited. They're getting stuff they can't anywhere else. Lots of extras, trading cards and prints and variant covers, and it is the only. Here's the thing: is like we can talk about this later, but the beauty of crowdfunding is it used to be that there was a stigma to crowdfunding. There is no longer any more crowdfunding.
Right, that's gone now.
State of the art, and you can crowdfund and then go to a traditional publisher and end up in a comic shop the same way you would end up if you started from the beginning.
Again, trying to find that 100% of the market, not just 10, 20%, or even 50%. You're looking for all of it.
Yeah. And so, you have to make sure that your Kickstarter product can only be nabbed then, right? You have specific variant covers, extremely collectible stuff, signed items, hollow covers, metal covers. It's the opportunity to do all that stuff, and that was never more clear to me than my company, Half Evil Comics. We just did the official Evel Knievel comic book on Kickstarter, and so we are catering to comic book fans in general, but we are also catering to Evel Knievel fans, right? People who collect Evel Knievel memorabilia. And so when we're crafting stuff, if it just feels like vanilla ice cream, again, you can get the vanilla ice cream in a comic book shop. People on Kickstarter, they want Rocky Road, man. They want it to shine. They want it to sing, right? And so with the Evel Knievel stuff, it was really about kind of underlining that you can only get this here. You can only get this right now.
So bringing all this back to building that follower, the following. So those items not only help a successful campaign, but those do build followers, because when someone sees it that you're offering all this fun stuff and they enjoyed it and obviously delivering and all that other stuff of successful campaign, they're going to follow. They're going to come back to your next campaign. Let's go to the mindset and help that person who is starting from zero. Comic book artist wants to do their first book, very low social media, presence right now, very little audience because they don't have a name. They're building their name or trying their name. There is an audience for those type of players on Kickstarter. So what actually moves their needle early on? Like what puts them on the radar, even if it's on a small part? What's going to put them mostly? And I think you're saying just a quality experience more than anything.
I think that's the biggest thing, is that, it kind of begins and ends for the most part with producing a quality product, right? I mean, the book's got to be good. The art's got to be good. The story's got to be good. When they plunk down their $25 and they grab the book, they have to be like, wow, that was worth it. Can I have another?
Right.
I've watched people.
Let me ask you this, because it's hot. So we talked about kind of what matters. What for the new person, what doesn't matter to it? So like we talked about kind of like what matters, but what's one of the things that we think would matter, but honestly, in your experience, it doesn't matter if we actually do that, but people still keep doing it because they think it matters?
Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, there are things that you can sell when you are established that you can't sell when nobody knows who the heck you are. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It is a lot easier for me to sell Evel Knievel t-shirts than it is for me to sell t-shirts for The Breach, which is my, which is an original that I launched on my own,
Right.
People are not so excited about getting, The Breach stickers, whereas like an Evel Knievel sticker, people might knife each other at an alley over.
Right.
And so that is the thing, is we can spend a lot of time creating we can worry about a lot of other stuff when we really should be about, well, what is the book good? And I've watched people build these fan bases over time. Like, Rob Maltiari does a book called Night Wolf, and he started out and nobody knew who he was and nobody knew the book. And it was, it was a werewolf book, but it was a good book. And Rob was persistent, and he did 2-3 campaigns a year. And now now he does these massive campaigns, and everybody's in on him. And he just built it, and he was responsive, and he put out a good product, and he was always around, and he was always asking questions, and people kept coming back, and
so merch does not matter. The bonuses don't matter as much as people think comparatively to the actual product itself. So any bonuses that you might give on Kickstarter is the exclusive of the book. So before you decide to throw in the stickers, the prints, the t-shirts, you got to think, do the people that don't know the product actually want that? And I do think that's really good advice on that one, that, because I do think people, when they do these Kickstarters, they think, well, I have to give all this extra stuff. And in reality, a lot of people just want the book. The other stuff is bonuses. And obviously, you need to give them a product that's worth what you're asking for. Where I think a signed copy and a remark might go, much further than, a sticker, as a bonus. Pre-launch, we move on to pre-launch. What should creators be doing in the months leading up to their campaign? And I'm not talking about, the things that we talk about a successful campaign. So if you can listen to Ryland, probably, many clips. But if not, we can have them back on if people really want to know how to do a successful, campaign. But this is again about following. So what should they do to help build their followers before the campaign even launches? Like how quickly, how like months before, a month before, a week before, but what should they be doing before they even launch?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, it depends. I mean, if you're classifying this as the person who doesn't have a big social media following and all of that stuff, it's a little bit different than, let's say you just naturally have 10 or 15,000, social media followers and all that. Keep your expectations low right off the bat, right? You might not hit a home run the first time out. I was a little bit lucky, but it was hard earned, where when I did my first crowdfunding campaign, I was the guy who had put out a handful of successful books in comic shops and won an award. And so when I came onto the site, I was Ringo Award winner Rylend Grant crowdfunding for the first time. And people showed up. That was the difference between me doing maybe like a $3,000 to $5,000 campaign, and then I did like a $16,000 campaign that first go around, because of that, because I had some cachet. So cachet helps, but if you don't have cachet, even if you do have cachet, the key is making sure that your people show up day one, if not minute one, right? Because this is where we get into the very complex topic of the Kickstarter algorithm, right?
Right.
Now, you
can touch on it. We won't get too much into the algorithm, but go ahead and touch on it.
Well, yeah, but I think that this is the key to what you should be doing in the lead up to your, because you gotta launch that campaign like you were shot out of a cannon, right?
Right.
You need everyone, friends, family, followers, fans. You need them to show up minute one. And so what you are trying to do, Kickstarter has this wonderful option where you create a pre-launch page that gives a little teaser of your book.
Right.
And whenever you decide, you can start sending people to that pre-launch page. They subscribe to the pre-launch page, and the moment you launch your campaign, the people who have pre-subscribed will get an email saying, "Hey, this is launched. Come on over." And if you can get your people to show up minute one, day one, and you have a big surge in backers, then that tells the wonderful Kickstarter algorithm that, hey, this is a great project. This is a serious project. This is a project that people are interested in. And then that wonderful algorithm goes and puts your project in front of as many people on Kickstarter proper as humanly possible. They log out to Kickstarter, your thing shows up. They get an email from Kickstarter about something else. There's your project. Hey, you might like this. And that is how Kickstarter starts to pay. That is how you grow a fan base. That's how things build. And so, again, I would say about a month out, right? You start to engage with your fan base, with your friends and your family. You say, hey, I have this new book. I am crowdfunding for these reasons. This book means everything to me for these reasons. You are going to love this book for these reasons. Here's a little bit of art to entice you. Head on over to the pre-launch page. Follow the project. Please back on day one.
And when we're talking about those guys, the numbers, the people that you want, for smaller people, I don't want you to think, I don't want you to compare yourself to Ryland or even myself. 50 dedicated, fans and friends, family that all sign up on that day one, all can do what he's talking about. It's find as many as you can. Don't feel like, well, I only have 50 and this other project has 250, or Skybound, on their Kickstarter has, 3,000. If you actually look at a lot of the successful stories, you're only talking about a few hundred or 100, backers. So take a look at that. Let's move on, because time just flies by on the process. You built your loyal fan base. Let's say it's a success story. You had 2 projects down, and then all of a sudden, you didn't build your community necessarily. You didn't build, your following. Chances are you did something to sabotage yourself. What would you think is, again, another part of the equation of making sure that we stay away from? Look, after you launch successfully or already had a full campaign, make sure that you are not accidentally sabotaging yourself by doing what do you think the most people sabotage themselves with?
I think people, their communication is bad. Here's the thing, is you can deliver a book late and nobody will mind at all, as long as you keep in contact with them, right? You can deliver a book a month late, 2 months late, a year late, as long as you're like, hey guys, I'm so sorry, but we hit this bump in the road. We need another month. If you keep people in the loop, you are building this book with them. That is part of the social contract on Kickstarter. And as long as you engage with your fans and you give them meaningful stuff to gnaw on, they're going to love you. They're going to come back for you, as long as you treat them well. So I think that that's the case. I mean, I made a mistake where I was I was only showing up. It's not really a mistake, but I was only showing up so often because I had this, this film TV career during the day that I had to attend to, and so I could only make a book so often. Whereas, so if I had been more on top of it and
to clarify, when you say show up, are you talking about responding to your followers that are backing the campaign, or do you mean making projects?
I mean, making projects more than anything.
Making projects.
I think frequency is one of the most important things. If you keep showing up on Kickstarter and doing great stuff, you're going to you will build a following that will be very engaged and very happy to back the next book for you. Here's one of the rules of Kickstarter is that in the comic book industry, in comic shops, we see attrition, right? That is the rule of comic shops. If you sell 10,000 copies of issue 1 in a comic shop, you will sell 5,000 of issue 2, 2,500 of issue 3, and on and on and on until your book dies a slow death. That's not what happens on Kickstarter. If you commit to a brand and you're firing on all cylinders, a fan base grows over time, right? You may start out with your 100 backers. The next time it'll be 200 backers. The next time it'll be 300 backers until you're a Charlie Stickney 1,200 backer monolith. It goes up, and that's because word gets around about you. And that's about engaging with fans. And I think that even when you're not releasing, you have an email list, right? You have a Substack. You put your backers on a list. You keep them engaged. You give them content. You give them valuable. Treat it like. I mean, you're here creating content, right? You're reaching out to fans this way. You're giving them something valuable. You're teaching them how to do what you do. If you can continue to do that, right? Continue to engage them. Now you're doing this, and the next time you have a book on Kickstarter, you can be like, "Hey guys, like I know you love this show. If you want to support the show, go head on over to Kickstarter and check out Cobblestone 3, right?
Right. Which is coming out in 2026, everyone. So
there you go. There you go. Subscribe now. Go to the pre-launch page.
It's you talked about one of the things of sabotaging yourself is that lack of production. I think Cobblestone 3, Elisa, my very wonderful, talented artist, and partner on the book, has been done for a while. Myself, just like how you talked about in your film career, have been quite busy with so many different, jobs and hats that I wear, that it's been sitting on my desk to do. And so that is, something that I probably have sabotaged myself on, is building, that constant communication with my followers. Talk about repeat backers mattering more than maybe a one-time viral spike. Maybe you somehow hit this big spike for one comic, how that may not be able to consistently happen. So talk about why repeat backers matter, and you already kind of touched on how you stay in touch with them, but give me a little bit why it matters so much for you to work a little bit harder to keep in touch with people who have backed you.
Yeah, well, I mean, people will come back. I mean, that is the beauty of a comic shop. You don't know who's buying your book. Like with Kickstarter, it's all sitting right there. You know who's backed. You know how many times they've backed. You know how much money they've backed for. There is a wonderful site that is very useful in conjunction with Kickstarter called BackerKit that has all these metrics. Right? This person has shown up this many times, and so you see over time how much people have invested in you, right? And that is kind of overwhelming and wonderful, and it changes the way you think about everything, right? Because you're not just looking at that how many books did I sell number. You're not just looking at that what is the final tally? It's only 10 grand this time. Blah 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 blah. You're able to look at what happens over time, and so here is a really interesting way to illustrate it. So with Evel Knievel, we did Facebook ads, right? And I am usually not the biggest fan of Facebook ads because they can be hit or miss. But I think when you have a recognizable property, piece of IP like Evel Knievel, they can really help. And so a lot of times you get stuck in the trap of being like, well, I spent $200 on ads and I only saw $150 in pledges from those ads. So it was a wash, right? But what you can see with all of the data that comes in is that, okay, well, I spent $200 on ads on Peacekeepers #1 years ago. Those ads attracted 6 backers who only spent about $100 on Peacekeepers 1. But since Peacekeepers 1, I've run 10 campaigns, and those backers, they found me because of those ads, and they have since spent about $3,000 on my campaigns. So those ads that I spent $200 on years ago have netted me $3,000 plus, right? And who knows how many friends that they roped in because they love the product. And how
that does not register on the ads, right?
Yeah. And so you get to see who your fans are and how active they are and how wonderful they are. And there are people, you talk about those repeat backers, and I talked about people needing to show up on day one. Those repeat backers will show up on day one because they know how important it is. I have a guy who is a wonderful guy named Michael, who day one, every campaign, he shows up and he doesn't just buy a book, he buys a premium experience. He has had himself drawn in to every issue that I've done on Kickstarter to the tune of like $400 every time. And people like him make the whole thing go, right? And that's usually not obvious, but it becomes very obvious when you do one of these.
Mike, what's up? What's your question?
All right, I got a very basic question, like elementary here, and I've been learning a lot about Kickstarter. I know very little about Kickstarter, I want to say, so I have to ask this question. So let's start from the beginning, right? We're building our following, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that are aspiring creators. They may be writers, they may be artists. At what point do you consider starting a Kickstarter? Like, because there's people I know writers that have a lot of scripts and stuff like that, but they have peanut butter, but they don't have the jelly. So at what point, just so people know, like when it's the right time to do Kickstarter, because like you said, David, you don't want to be sabotaging yourself, doing stuff, putting the cart before the horse. So at what point is it appropriate to start Kickstarter?
So just to clarify your question, you're saying through the production process, when should you start a Kickstarter? All right.
Yes, sir.
Ryland, 2 minutes on that. What do you think?
Yeah. I would say the smartest thing, if you're just starting out, is have the book completely finished before you kickstart. Yeah. Because the worst thing you can do is, delays happen, all of this stuff. The worst thing you can do is not deliver a book. And I've seen people not deliver books. Have it done, have it ready to go. And here's the thing, is that it is a contract with the backer where you have to tell them, hey, invest in us, believe in us. We're going to get you a great book. We're going to get you. And so if you can tell them like, hey guys, you don't have to worry about anything. The book's done. We just need the money to print it right now. And then we're going to get it to you. That's what I watched David Barron do. Yeah. David Barron had a great book done. He had a quote on the printing. He just waited for the orders to come in. He immediately contacted the printer, and people had their books in like a minute. And that's the way to do it.
Yeah, one of my things is, if you're not going to deliver right away, you better be one of the big boys that will let people wait. And I do know one of the biggest complaints is that it takes forever to get something from one of the big companies. Because they're trying to, push every little dime in their favor. As a creator, I would say, right what Ryland said, which is have your book done if or very close to being done. If you need some money for coloring, maybe that's a stretch goal or something like that. But that's a whole nother topic of how to build your campaign and why and when. Because stretch goals are definitely part of the relationship of how to build your following. But stretch goals means that, you've already had a successful project. I want to talk about next, when you have a campaign that already went live, mm-hmm. what elements matter most for attracting more backers? And we already talked about keeping backers. Like, you're not going to lose a backer if they already pledged. Very rarely will you lose a backer that already pledged, something. They might change up or down, their pledge, but we want to get more. And what are some of the keys? Obviously, always, social media and advertisements, those are always kind of the understanding. But what are some of the keys to how you put yourself out there to more backers? Because as we both know, and we talked about when you taught me about Kickstarter, is that you will have ups and downs throughout the campaign. That at the beginning of the campaign is most important, but also the last 24 hours, the 48 hours are also just as key. And then in the mid, or a couple mids, so we're now in the mid where I'm trying to get more people. What are some of the things that I need to, kind of focus on to keep those followers growing based off the limited success or the major success that I had? I think the advice could be almost the same.
Yeah, I think so also. So, the first thing is that people want to back a project they think is going to be successful, is going to get made, right? And so if you have reached your goal in that middle desert area, that's a big deal, right? A lot of people will come on, and one of the mistakes they make right off the bat is they set the goal too high. Right. Yeah. It's like, my goal is $20,000, and it's like, you're never going to get there. If you set a goal at, set your goal low enough to where I try to set my goal to where I can hit it on the first day. Right. So it's usually, for me right now, it's usually about $7,000.
Which also makes it viable. You want to set your goal that you can hit the first day, but not if it's not viable. Don't set it so low that, well, I actually didn't make enough money to print, that many copies because the run's too low. So make it reasonable for your goal, because the Kickstarter backers, they kind of have an understanding of how much a book costs to make.
Yeah, but if they're coming in the middle of the campaign and they see, oh, this is already funded, it's already a go, I know I'm going to get a book, they are ready to back. The rule for Kickstarter is that if you pull a backer in, it's going to lead to more backers, right? And so it's like you said, you're going to see a huge surge at the beginning because you got your people to show up, and then when your people showed up, that led to you being promoted all over the site, and at-large backers came in. But then at some point, right at the end of the first week, it's going to trail off, and you're going to be in this desert until about 48 hours out. At 48 hours out, all the people who have watched the project will get another message, and they'll be told, hey, you only have 2 days to back this, and you'll see another natural surge. But that middle part can be really tough, right? And it is a desert. And so the idea is to go in and you try to get like 3 to 7 backers every day. And sometimes from natural occurrence, you wake up, you already have your 3 for the day, it's going to be a good day. Sometimes you wake up, you log in, don't have backers yet. You log in a couple hours later, don't have backers. It gets to be about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, you still don't have backers, and then you have to go to work, and you have to go out and try and activate people, right? And and it used to be that social media was really good for this, right? Twitter used to be awesome. I used to get so many backers from Twitter. Then Elon came in and remade the whole thing, and it's useless now for backing for promoting social media. Facebook is the most useful thing, but a lot of time, the social media sites want to bury anything that has a link in it. So you got to be very tricky about how you do it. Honestly, the thing that works best is tapping people on the shoulder, right?
Is this why all the spammers put the link in the comments?
Yeah. Because any post that has a link in it is going to get filtered out by the Facebook algorithm.
Mike, you hear that? For now on, whenever we're advertising,
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Link is going in the comments for now on, people.
Link in the comments is or you try to hide it in the picture, or you do. I mean, it's so hard to try and trick people, but David Avalone has a really great Substack that you should go check out. He writes all the Elvira comics at Dynamite. And he is my partner in the Writer's Block podcast. But he has this really great Substack. When he tries to promote the Substack, if he promotes it a certain way, nobody will see it. If his Substack post is a selfie of himself, that supercharges the algorithm for some reason. A lot of people click on it, engage on it, and then the other thing he does is he posts that photo with the go to my Substack post, and then he changes it to his background photo. And when he does that, then a ton more people see it. And so this is how you have to outthink these algorithms right now. But honestly, the best thing is to go and tap people on the shoulder. I get in the middle of my campaign, and I know that there are people who want to back, but for whatever reason, they got busy. They haven't gotten around to it. Usually what happens is I have been shouting at the rooftop for 15 days. I have a Kickstarter. I have a Kickstarter. I've been posting everywhere. I've been emailing people.
Right.
There are people that want to back every campaign who have not seen a single thing that I've sent out yet because of the algorithmic craziness. And so sometimes I'll text somebody. Sometimes I'll call somebody. Sometimes Facebook Messenger is really good for this. Get on Facebook Messenger and there are other creators, there are other people in the community, there are friends, there are families. Hey, Aunt Jane, do you think, this would mean a lot to me? Can you go do that? You tap that on. And so you can go to work during a slow day, and then suddenly you have 3, 4, 5, 10 people that will back. That leads to another algorithmic juicing, which puts you in front of a bunch of at-large backers, and then suddenly the 5 backers you pulled in turns into 15 Kickstarter backers also, and then you're off to the races again. So it is a daily battle. But go ahead.
So we're gonna play a game real quick, where you get to answer, you get to rate it. I did this with several people in terms of importance. I find it helpful for people to kind of really understand different things. So we're gonna go. We'll go 1 to 10. 10 being the strongest, most crucial. For whatever the statement is, it could be 10 being like, just absolutely worst, do not do that. 1 being the, best for that scenario, or vice versa. You'll see how we go. Okay. So mistakes that people might make when trying to build a following. Number 1, launching too early.
That can be a 10.
A 10 of negative. Yeah, that could destroy. Yeah. Okay, launching too early. And 30 seconds on why launching too early can absolutely destroy your following.
Yeah. So again, all the people that subscribe to the pre-launch page, right? That number is very important, because those are the people that are going to immediately get an email and then immediately back your campaign. And so if that number is not high enough, then you shouldn't wait and spend more time trying to get that number up before you launch. That's
okay,
the way
perfect, because that's all about building that following. Build it before you launch, because otherwise the following just can't grow organically that way. 2, overpricing, underpricing. How can that affect your following? Again, what number, and then give me 20 seconds on why.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a 10 to the health of the campaign, because if stuff is overpriced, if they don't feel like they're getting their money's worth. I mean, there is a price range on Kickstarter. If you're not buying into it, then you're in trouble. If it's overpriced,
so I'll separate it real quick. Underpricing. Yeah. So underpricing, can that kill your following?
I don't know that it can kill your following. What it can do is it can make sure that you don't have enough money to actually fund the book. Going lower on the spectrum of where Kickstarter books are generally sold can be a great thing if you're unknown, because people are used to paying me $25. If they look at your campaign and they only have to give up $18 to $20, then maybe they're more likely to back your campaign when they don't know you. It's like,
so it's not necessarily a horrible thing to understand. There's not going to be like a thing, well, this must be a cheap book, or they won't necessarily do that. But what if you do it like at 5, or even like normal comic book cover price? Is that too low? And is that going to make people think it's too cheap of a book, that this person isn't realistic?
Based on all of the budgeting and the costs, you're creating a premium product, a boutique product. You will, if you're independently wealthy and you can give the book away to attract followers, great.
Okay, so you don't think it would hurt people coming in, long as it still looked good? And okay,
Yeah.
Now, what about flip that? Now, what about overpricing?
Yeah.
Where do you stand on that? Again, 1 to 10
there
for follower building.
Yeah. It's 10. It could just be a shot to the head. You know, I mean,
there is a limit that people will just be like, no, I'm done.
Yeah, there are books for people that I like that I wouldn't buy. I mean, here's the thing: is like I think having a range of pricing is the key, because sometimes I'll jump on and it's like, well, I can either get the PDF for $7 or I get a print copy for like $40, and it's like, I like you, man, but I don't have $40 to cough up. If you gave me a $25 option, I'm in. Right.
There definitely is a range. And again, I think you and I have to have another whole, maybe Patreon or behind the closed door paywall, of how to, run a successful campaign, because you're definitely, a key figure in my life in terms of how to run a campaign to make it successful. And my campaigns have been successful, and it has been to do with, your input. But again, that's kind of why I kept this one on the following side, because it is a very robust understanding of how to do it. And when you get in there with your book, and you have to tailor it to, your own individual, but I kind of also feel like building your followers is kind of the same process for everybody. Which is why I stuck with that, topic for this one. How about copying a successful campaign, especially without understanding how they worked? What do you think about that? Do you think that is going to help your followers or hurt your followers by copying someone else's campaign?
I think it's I think it is very important. I think that, again, I looked at people who did it correctly, right? Who did it the right way, who were successful, and I just did what they did. And there are certain things you can't do unless you're Charlie Stickney, and you need to know which are those and which are not. But man, if there are people doing it right, just do it that way. And that is how I was successful. I mean, I handed you the playbook that those guys handed me, ran a successful campaign, and I'm sure you're helping people now with it. So yeah.
And I've helped others as well. Yeah. And I would say, to put it simply, don't reinvent the wheel. So if you see one that works, I will put the warning on there. Make sure you're going to actual like for like creators. Don't go try to do, Skybounds or Bad Ideas or IDW's Kickstarters or Heavy Metal's, $1 million Kickstarter. It's not apples to apples at that point. So make sure that you are modeling after, if you're a brand new book, then model it after a brand new project that you've never heard of yourself. If you are doing, Conan the Barbarian, whole anthology from, the 80s, sure, go ahead and, copy, what Heavy Metal did, because that's what they did. They brought back, all their books from the 80s. Last one, 1 to 10 type of thing. How much does burnout affect your followers? And so if you're burnt out, what happens to them?
Well, do you mean you wearing yourself out? I mean, because here's the thing: is you can burn out your backers if you do too many campaigns in too short a time.
Okay, let's do it one. Let's talk about burning out your backers, because that's going to hurt your followers. So let's talk about burning out your backers.
Yeah, I think in general, as a normal creator, you can do about 4 campaigns a year, right? And kind of keep your backers really. If you're Pat Shand and you're this huge monolith, and Pat started out doing a couple of campaigns a year, and now I think he did 20 last year.
Oh wow.
But he has such a huge engaged fan base. They don't show up for everything, but enough of them show up for everyone. But yeah, you can really burn people out, like particularly now because the economy's down, people are losing their jobs, they don't have a lot of disposable income. Now you have to be really careful about it.
And so we're talking about burning them out by too many projects. And then can we also burn them out by over communication? Can we lose people who don't want to hear from us anymore?
Yeah, if you're sending too many emails or too many updates.
Yeah, because there is ways to post updates and follows and just quickly, since we brought it up, one 10-second answer. What would you recommend for them to communicate? How often?
Man,
Once a week.
Yeah, yeah. If I don't have anything going on, it's once a month. If there's not something I'm trying to sell, but yeah.
What about and there's a difference between in launching, like where you actually already launched, and different than out of launch. So once a month out, and then what do you think in?
Yeah. I mean, I think that when a campaign's going, there are hot spots, right? Like you announce the pre-launch, you announce, hey, we're going live tomorrow. You announce, hey, launched. End of that first week, you're like, hey, we had a great first week. If you haven't backed yet, back. And then I'm trying to check in about once a week. Then you get to the close, and it's like, hey guys, last
and then it ramps back up. Okay.
Yeah. But here is the thing: is I used to be more hands off than that. Now with how posts and emails and everything, they get hidden and people don't get them. And so it is a problem because like you can send out 10 messages and like 3/4 of your people see none of them, but then there are people that are seeing every single one. And so you're burning out like this part, you're not reaching this part. And so right now that is a very complex question. It's very difficult to answer. And there's not a real easy answer because sometimes you gotta keep pushing because there are people that still want to back. Yeah.
And it's important for you to understand yourself, on your own burnout, because too many projects that we just talked about, you're not going to be able to sustain that, especially if you're doing it on your own. If you have someone to help you with shipping, I mean, there's so many more, that we could talk about on a different episode of actually building a successful campaign. But this is really talking about, hopefully you're understanding building a following. And how important the following is to your Kickstarter campaign. We are almost out of time, so I'm going to rapid fire on some things. So quick answers. If let's say you are launching your first Kickstarter campaign and you're going to launch it in 6 months. So now we have your first one. We have the time frame. What are the top 3 things in? And we're going to say it's 6 months. That's what we're doing. Book will be. Well, I'll let you actually answer. I won't put any more parameters on it. What are the top 3 things that they should be focusing on today, knowing that they're going to launch in 6 months?
Getting the book done, getting a quality book done, right? Having it done before you launch. Gathering your following together, right? Emails are the most important thing in terms of converting a family member into a backer, right? And so a lot of time we're just generally posting and shouting. You have to be able to specifically engage individuals. So you can if you can spend 6 months compiling, here are the people that I'm going to ask to back on day one. That is the most important thing. And then I think just making sure that page is tight and that page looks like one of Charlie Stickney's pages or Kat Calamina's pages, or that when people log on, it's going to be this beautiful sales pitch.
Right. You have to captivate them in some way. You got to intrigue them. It's it's one of those things that I do a lot of fundraising for charity, for schools, for youth programs, sports programs, and email lists, as you said, Ryland, are huge. One of the first things that any campaign company comes in, they make all the players and all the students come in with 20 emails and 20 phone numbers, from family and friends. And the truth is it works, and that's why they do it. So make sure that you guys are doing the same thing. Don't sit there and go in without any effort of cultivating, that list, because the only way a list can grow is by having some type of seed, for it to start growing.
If you can reach out and specifically grab somebody, if you can tap them on the shoulder, that's going to be a backer. Otherwise, yeah.
Question for people who are established a little bit. How well have you, when you tabled at conventions or things like that, how much interaction do you actually see from people going to conventions? Because we talked about at the very beginning, and we're almost wrapping up right here with minutes left. We talked about how, there's different pie, that 60% of it's in crowdfunding. And we talked about 10% or less could be in conventions, and another 10 to 20% could be just elsewhere. And then the 40, percent is actually, in the direct market at comic book stores. When you try to go to a comic book store, you try to go to, a convention, how often do you bring back Kickstarter followers?
Conventions are great for it, man. I mean, yeah,
They're great for it.
I would, yeah, I am a bad tabler.
Okay.
Part of it is so busy with other stuff in my life. But I watch people like Steve Prince, people like Charlie Stickney, Kat and Phil from Lifeline Comics. They table at every major con, and they sit there and they have these beautiful books there. People come up, they get the book at the con, but then they are minting backers as they're sitting on the con floor.
Gotcha.
It's a wonderful way. And again, it's just because people are meeting them, they're engaging, they're wonderful people, they're excited about their books, and again, it is a similar experience to Kickstarter. People are seeing they're seeing how excited you are about their book. They're not seeing some random cover on a stand.
I always tell people that, you're buying the book from me at my table, not so much because you love Swamp Thing Green Hell or Batman Offworld. You do like them, and so you're intrigued by it, but it has a memory that you bought it off one of the people that worked on it, and that connection really does help. So getting out in front of people, I definitely also agree with. And I know Mike and I both have seen for this channel alone, we've seen upticks every time we go to a show. So we get, likes and subscribers every time we're at a show. All right. So my closing question to you. Okay. We talked about a lot about building followers, how important everybody is. Is there one thing creators watching right now should stop doing immediately when trying to build a following? And then flip that and give me one thing that they should absolutely start doing to build their following. So one thing that they should stop because it's absolutely either a waste of time or destroying their following. And then what should they then instead concentrate on?
Yeah, I mean, you can waste so much time. I mean, I think that ads are a waste of time to a degree unless you're doing a specific thing like
Facebook ads, Instagram ads. Unless it's an eye-catching project that's known already.
Yeah, it's got to be a very recognizable property for anyone to care. Because if it's just random thing, they just don't know. They're just going to click right through it, and you can get a lot of money. I mean, I think that going and posting in Facebook groups and stuff like that is a big waste of time. I think that we post wrong on social media a lot. If you're just posting advertisements the entire time, here, buy my book, here's a link, that gets filtered out very easily. The thing that works and the thing that we need to be doing is you develop a parasocial relationship, right? People need to connect to you. They are buying you, not necessarily the book, right? And so doing a show like this is one of the best ways to promote your work. We talked about David Avallone. When David Avallone posts a selfie, everyone wants to read the Substack post. If David Avallone got into, hey, go read my Substack, or I talk about blah, 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 nobody goes. And so if you can, video content is great. If you can make it about, here's the process, here's what it means to me, you involve people in the story of making the story. I think that stuff is very successful. People love the how-tos, they love the whys, they love all that stuff. Like we're used to watching reality television, like what is the reality TV of you making this book and why you're making this book and why they should care about this book?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like this is the industry that we're, that whether we didn't choose it. I mean, I've been in it for a long time, and so this is not the industry that I entered in, but this is the industry that I love and I still want to be a part of. And so it talks about teaching old dogs new tricks, and this is I think a new trick that isn't even that new. It's been around for a while and ever changing. But if you are not willing to play the game, you are going to limit yourself to your opportunities that you could have.
I mean, people are buying you. I think that's good news. You have all the power. They're not buying Marvel or DC. They're not buying Batman, or they are buying David Barron. And what is David Barron excited about right now? I want a piece of it, right? And and on crowdfunding, you're cutting out the middleman. You're not getting paid some lame page rate. It all goes to you, and if you do the work and you put out a good product, like it's going to pay dividends.
Mike, jump in here. So Ryland, I want to thank you for it. Can you let everyone know where they can follow you to build that following? Not only on Kickstarter, of course, because I know I follow you on Kickstarter, but anywhere else that you want people to know about or promote or anything like that.
Yeah, I am at Rylend Grant on all forms of social media. You can see it typed out right there. I usually spell it because it's not a real name, and my parents just kind of drunkenly arranged letters and saddled me with it. And so I usually have to spell it for people. But there it is. We're on a YouTube show. It's typed out for you. So at Rylend Grant. My company is Half Evil Comics. You can find me, or you can find Half Evil Comics on Kickstarter. And we have a number of things coming out this year. We are, as I said, we're doing the official Evel Knievel comic book. We will do 2 more issues of that this year. In February, we are launching a new issue, a new kind of spin-off series of my Ringo Award-winning series Banjax. Which was nominated for Best Series alongside Bitterroot and Something's Killing the Children, and great series. We're excited about that one. You'll see new issues of our Fargo West crime drama, The Peacekeepers. You will see a collection of our flagship series, which is an astral projection thriller called The Jump. We get a lot of, we are releasing books from other creators now. We have David Avalone has kind of a sort of unofficial sequel to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea that takes place during World War II called Nautilus that'll be out. We're releasing a vampire book from this wonderful creator named Rachel Nelson. So tons to chew on. Follow us. Look for the stuff and throw us a back. Let us know what you think.
Awesome. And, funny enough, Ryland, when I did a quick search on Instagram, to tag you, more Rylands have now popped up. So
but are they AND? I feel like
no, exactly the same. Yeah.
Wow.
It was very, and there's actually another Rylend Grant. I mean, there's several David Barons out there, and I know that the tagline used to be, I'm the one and only, but I think, a cease and desist letter to those, other ones to get that going. But it was a pleasure having you. Mike, tell us about what's going on the Sig Slayers Station.
Well, first and foremost, it's always good to drop a new episode of The Process. So we got that dropping right here on Wednesday right now. And then tomorrow we have Joe Benitez, artist, longtime artist, Wildstorm artist, and indie artist as well. So we're going to be talking about his career. And then you can always check us out on Whatnot at Sig Slayers every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, man. We got tons and tons and tons of signatures.
Yep, tons of it. And it's a great fun time spent with Mike. And then, Mike, we also have a new episode of The Process after Ryland's with Jason Aaron, writer of Batman Offworld that I got to work with. But something special with that one. Tell me a little bit about what makes that one going to be a little bit special and what our followers and subscribers can do with it.
Well, I'm very excited to talk about yet another format expansion of The Process. We're going to be going live. It'll be our first live episode of The Process featuring the two collaborators, Jason Aaron and our one and only David Barron. And I'm excited to learn about. I guess we're going to talk about writing.
Yeah, we're going to talk about how to break into the industry as a writer. The do's and don'ts of that. And again, all these are recorded live. But this one will be interactive, so you can actually log on to YouTube and do questions, and Mike will hop in if you have a good one. If I see one, I'll read one off. If it's a bad one, we'll probably still let you ask it. But it will be definitely for writing only. If your questions are for writing, that's when you want to come on. I'm not going to, as you guys know, as Ryland knows, this is a one-topic show. I try to keep us on track no matter what magic we have to say. But yeah, Mike, that's going to be look forward to it. And again, Ryland, thank you so much for being a part of the show. I really appreciate it. As we close out now, I just want to say that Kickstarter and you can be lifelong friends. Crowdfunding in general, there should be no limitations to your creativity. Whatever you need to get your creativity out, however you want to produce the work and then sell the work, that is on you. Long as it's true and fair. I hope that you do find that following. I hope that Ryland's advice today was helpful. I find creativity freeing and releasing, and I look forward to participating in more crowdfunding, in this year and the years to come. And so I hope you really enjoyed this episode. Thank you again for watching the process. I appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. Please tell your friends. Please leave comments. Comments are huge, not only for our algorithm of the show, but I just want to thank the 16,000 plus followers. I think we're closing on 17, and I really appreciate it. So until I see you next, thank you.
Sig Slayers.